John, how are you? Hey, I needed to get back on here and talk with some of you guys that were out here with me yesterday. I'm back out at this spot. Remember this from yesterday? And do you remember Moorhead saying that CDOT was going to come out on Tuesday? I mean, of course, he had no proof of that, but I'm sure that's what's been verbalized, right? So I wanna talk about this whole CDOT thing real quick at this spot because well, of course, I finally took the time to to try to find me a sign that says this is private property. That says property of Colorado Department of Transportation, no trespassing. Well, let me add, right here on the other side of this fence are some more homeless camps. That's right along Santa Fe, one of our major stretches of CDOT property through the city. So I just find it interesting that none of the police or none of CDOT has been out here addressing any of these camps so far that I could see. And I mean, the trash is horrendous over here. I mean, it's horrendous on this side. But on this side, you know, you have the houses right here in this open space. So I'm sure the complaints are coming from, you know, from the private homes. And I can understand that. I mean, there are even some homeless out here that agree that it's not okay. So, but the tactics are what the problem is, as far as I'm concerned. Because, if you'll recall, I filed a complaint with the Denver Police Department on their collaboration with CDOT and how they're not even following their own process. Okay, so there was a lawsuit settlement that was initiated by a group that's concerned with people living homeless downtown. And in this settlement agreement, each of these named individuals, plaintiffs in this lawsuit, would get $5,000 from the city of Denver, and Denver would be required to post notice 7 days to begin with, 24 hours, I believe, before an eviction, and then leave notification on property or where the property was that the property had been confiscated and taken to storage, and that they had X amount of time to come retrieve their belongings. Okay, fair enough, I guess, if we're going to move them from, you know, one 4-block square radius to the next 4-block square radius. I mean, if that's solving homelessness, right on, way cool, right? At least they'll try to maintain their belongings. So if you'll recall the situation with Marcos, the individual over Bear Valley, CDOT property again. Denver did the same exact thing. They kept coming over there and harassing the shit out of him, telling him he was trespassing, you gotta leave, you know, they're gonna kick you out of here, you're gonna lose all your stuff, blah, 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 blah. Well, finally one day, CDOT decides to show up. I wasn't there. I heard from Marcos what happened, and he essentially left his belongings because he felt like he didn't have a choice and he couldn't get them anywhere. Great. So what ultimately ended up happening was that the Denver Police Department flat out lied to me. An officer by the name of Jeremy Chavez, who was out there that day, the community resource officer with District 4, put in an email that he took Marcos's property down to the Denver storage facility and that he could go retrieve it, blah, 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 blah. Well, I had no idea where Marcos was, and this was the day before a snowstorm. Regardless of what Denver Police Department's opinion is, or the information that they have on this homeless individual is irrelevant. They're claiming that I told them that he was an unknown homeless man. And in the Office of the Independent Monitor, there's an ability for you to go online and file a complaint on behalf of another individual. Well, that's good, because there are a lot of people that can't read, that can't see, that need help, or that simply, have somebody trying to do something right for them. So I love that option that the Office of the Independent Monitor offers that. Well, apparently the Denver Police Department doesn't accept those complaints because they're lying and claiming that I said he was an unknown homeless man. Further, I asked for mediation for the homeless man because the homeless man, unknown, wants to go to mediation, and I would willingly take him to mediation. Well, guess what? Denver didn't even address that in their response. This stupid letter is absolutely absurd. And if the Office of the Independent Monitor lets this fly, I'm going to be in deep, depressing shock over this, because not only was I lied to by Officer Jeremy Chavez, I was sent on a wild goose chase to help that man get his belongings. So now they're telling me that this is only a legitimate complaint if the person themselves that has a problem with the police department files a complaint. Well, that's isn't that fantastic? Because homeless people have access to be able to do that. Or, of course, they can call. They can call. They can call in their complaint to the Internal Affairs Division of the Denver Police Department, or the Office of the Independent Monitor, which never answers their phone, but you can leave a message, because the homeless individual often has access to his cell phone when he gets important phone calls, and misses 99% of calls and texts and all those other things that matter. And therefore, the complaint can just simply be unfounded because the respondent never responded, right? So the incident to which you summarize your correspondence to the Office of the Independent Monitor was investigated, and the information collected was revealed that CDOT was the responsible organization for the notification and removal of both people and items/garbage from the location. Number 2, officers from the Denver Police Department are there only in the case of a breach of the peace and are not responsible for the collection of any property, personal or otherwise, from the location, except when they show up over here and all of a sudden are protecting private property because of property and people on the quote-unquote private property. What the hypocrisy here is so astounding. I'm about to lose all my words. Number 3, parties present at the location during the cleanup related that the officer present was professional, polite, accommodating, and beyond patient. Number 4, further reports. What reports? Revealed that the officer present at the location offered all the available services to all the homeless parties needing or requesting additional assistance. Oh, well, that's funny, because Officer Jeremy Chavez put in writing that he had next to no conversation with Marcos, the unknown homeless individual, and that he wanted to know his name. He didn't even know the guy's name. Officer Chavez had to ask me for the homeless man's name, and I gave him the homeless man's name. And all of a sudden, Denver does an internal affairs investigation, and this is all of a sudden an unknown homeless man that just wants to go to mediation, which, by the way, they never even responded to. So, as you see, they're up to no good. Up to absolutely no good. And they're getting caught red-handed. The Denver Police Department is facilitating the confiscation of what they arbitrarily determine to be trash. Whether it leaves a homeless man without a tent or a sleeping bag the day before a snowstorm, whether it leaves them without a cooler of their water, who knows? They get to make that decision. Because CDOT's property, it doesn't fall under Denver's policies and procedures from the lawsuit settlement, now does it? Now they just get to come out here day after day and harass the shit out of these people. Sure. Could we have some discussions about crimes that are occurring, things that are happening in these homeless camps, homeless crime, on homeless crime, petty theft, major theft that the Denver Police Department refuses to take reports from some business owners down the way, because they just couldn't really prove that they owned the property. So they'll just not investigate anything, make the assumptions, and then come out here and treat all of them as if they're criminals collecting trash. Well, they're not all criminals, and they're not all living in trash. Is Denver going to address the trash and sanitation issue? Hell no. They're going to do things like this. So the next debacle will be down on Denver's right-of-way for those people, the majority of them living in their RVs, very peacefully, with no problems. What's Denver gonna do? What are they gonna do? I suggest they leave them alone. They're not hurting anybody. And there is nothing down there that's pretty. Nothing. There's no homes. There's businesses. And oh yeah, Inglewood's water treatment plant that smells like shit. I mean, like burning shit 99% of the time down there. Yeah, they're even camped just down the road from that. So don't tell me that these people aren't trying to not be in the way, to not be an eyesore, to not piss others off. Don't tell me that. Are there some people down there that have some trash issues? Absolutely. So address it, Inglewood and Denver. Address the trash and sanitation issue. Oh, but you're not going to do that, are you? Because it gives you leverage to show up one day and go, look, we got a big problem here. We got all this trash and human waste, and we have to do something about it. So everybody, GTFO. That's what they're waiting to do. And there are some very good people over there. So it'll be interesting to see if CDOT decides, I don't know, randomly just to show up to collect their stuff. Officer Moorhead said CDOT was going to be over here on Tuesday. There's been no indication that they've been anywhere on any of their property today. So I guess they're just going to continue to use the public services of the police to do the work that they don't have policies and procedures for? How convenient is that? What a wonderful collaboration between two government organizations on private property. So do these private property owners get those services? So if they call the police and say, you know what, John's been living here and I want him gone. Yeah, guess what? They don't. The police don't show up and tell John, oh, John, you've been living here for a while. Oh, you're living here, huh? You're not trespassing? You didn't show up to commit a crime? Oh, you have to leave because there's this thing called due process when you're quote-unquote living somewhere. Oh, that's right. These people are living houseless, so there is no due process for them. That makes perfect sense, right? No, it doesn't. And there's no one advocating for that. Regardless of all this criminal activity that these people might be involved in, hey, Denver, why don't you address it? I'd love to capture some of that. Oh, you're not going to do that, are you? You're just going to threaten to take people to jail, even though these people know you're taking no one to jail right now. You suck. Denver, you really suck. And CDOT, Stacy, I had that meeting with you. I thought it was kind of kosher. You were pretty nasty and judgmental about the majority of the homeless individuals out here. I didn't appreciate it, but I respected your position because I thought maybe we might have a little bit of a working relationship. But apparently I missed the part of the meeting where I was supposed to ask you for permission. So you know what? Fuck you too. And I guess we'll just continue the battle until you make it right. Yeah, I'm the most feared statement. I'm here from the government and I'm here to help you. Yeah, we know exactly what that means, don't we? We know exactly what that means. And so do the majority of these homeless. And I find it really fascinating how many of them are really cooperative with the police and really try to be very civil. And they think that that's going to help. It's not. The cops are here always with ulterior motives. Officer Moorhead telling me that he's here to, the other day down along the Platte, that he was just there to connect those folks with resources. One of them. One gal that was literally having a nervous breakdown on the spot because she just couldn't manage what I was gauging were her emotions that were out of control. Had contact with some mental health workers that had come out there with DPT. Everybody else said, no. Well, they didn't offer me any resources. So that was funny, Officer Moorhead. I'm so glad you went out there with your folder to look very prepared to hand out those lists of resources. And then you turned around and told me that I needed to connect those people with the resources, essentially doing your job for you, except you forgot to offer me compensation. Unreal how these people are treating the homeless. Not only from the government standpoint of, we're here to help, it's from the oath of the badge, right? I'm doing good things if I'm following orders. It doesn't matter what my oath is to my badge when I swear to walk the streets of Denver with a gun, a badge, and a license to kill. I guess that oath is it just doesn't matter. They're doing good things out here for these people. As you saw yesterday. I mean, Officer What's-Her-Face, she wasn't a part of any of that. But she wanted to arrest me. So we'll see what happens when that body cam footage that I made an information request for comes back. And, of course, shows the officers following their policy to turn on their body cams when they're threatening to arrest people. I can't wait. I can't wait to view that body cam footage that I can almost guarantee you doesn't exist. Oh, and there might be this little piece of this body cam footage of that woman cop, that wasn't a part of anything when she got out of her car, threatened to arrest me, and then walked over to the homeless kid and possibly said something to him that made him think that if he gave me a gift of, I don't know, perhaps maybe some stolen property, that he would have been off the hook. Yeah. Hey, female cop. I know you think everybody's really stupid. I got some really bad news for you, girlfriend. You just really fucked up. Yeah, Blue Line Gang. So if you go back to yesterday's video and you watch her get out of the car and you watch her threaten to arrest me, and then you hear her say that I'm not part of this. When I ask her to identify herself, she crosses her arms and goes and stands in front of the cop car with Officer Tubby Boy, and they're beep, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? You'll see them talking, and then all of a sudden you'll see her jet off, and she goes out of the frame of the recording and goes over and either, I'm not going to speculate what she was doing because I didn't see it, because I'm already speculating enough as it is, since, of course, she told me she wasn't a part of any of that. I just can't understand why she went over and interacted with that kid. And then moments later, when you see me walk over to that kid and start talking to him, you'll hear him say, I want to give you some gifts. Oh, guess what, Denver PD? I'm not dumb. I know what goes on out here. And I said to the homeless kid, no, I don't want your gifts. You keep them. You keep your property. And then you see the two cops standing with their arms crossed in front of the cop car, watching the whole time, right? They're watching to see what's gonna go on between my interaction with them and what they're going to do about it. And then you ultimately see them leave, right? Yep. And then you hear us having some conversation with the homeless, with some of the homeless individuals. You hear me having the conversation with them. A guy on a motorcycle drives up, right? So I'm surrounded by a lot of people. Shortly before that, the kid that was being threatened with being arrested for trespassing was yelling from the street for me to record this guy coming on the street on a bicycle because he's saying that this guy has pulled a gun on him before, as the cops are standing there watching all of that. Very interesting. So of course, for my safety, I have some conversation with the homeless individuals that's essentially small talk, and give me a call. Let me know if there's something maybe I can help with. If I can, I will. If I can't, I won't. And there are a lot of things that I can't help them with because I won't. It's really that simple. So DPD, if really you think you're gonna try to set me up, you're gonna fail. And you're gonna continue to make yourselves look really fucking dumb. So just don't do it. That's my suggestion. Yeah, you're exactly right. Receipt of stolen property, as she's standing right there, just watching the whole time, waiting for. I mean, what could she have possibly been doing if she wasn't a part of this? I mean, what were they doing anyway? Those two cops. Because you'll see on the video when I got here, she's sitting in her car and the other one's just outside his car, just standing there, just watching. I'm guessing that they made a deal with that kid. I'm guessing, speculating, that they weren't going to take him to jail since he has a warrant. I don't even really know the kid's full name, but they never give me their full names out here. They just don't. And so why was the kid responding so quickly and feverishly to move whatever property he had here when he could have just left? What were those cops trying to get him to do long before I got here? I mean, it is the goal for them to get them off the property, right? I mean, there is no trespassing. So why are they giving him so much time to move stuff that he couldn't even move? Another homeless individual was letting him load his van with his belongings. The cops knew that. Why were they out here? Yeah, I don't know. It definitely was DPD's B team. I'm sure command staff had something to say to continue their showing up here every day for the last 3 days, right? So my point is, instead of doing the police work that needs to be done to actually address any real crime where there's a victim, Denver's not going to touch it. This is so much more fun and so much easier. And they don't give a shit. That's the bottom line. Police are not doing police work. Period. So, hey, John, are you still here? Watching Way? Yeah, well, Mike, Officer Butch, that was funny. Those comments were great. They really were. So, And I have no doubts that if they were able to process people in the jail right now, they'd have taken me to jail. They get away with that shit all the time. They do that shit all the time. And those two, as much as no good they were up to, they would have fucking drummed up any charge on me that they wanted to. Really? The only thing that stopped them, well, besides that they were bluffing, was that I was recording. So again, please, don't ever not record the police. I'm preaching to the choir, but so many of my friends, they're intimidated. They just don't want to do it. It's your right. You should do it. They didn't like what they were getting themselves caught on over here. So of course I was trespassing on private property when CDOT was nowhere to be found, to say that they didn't want me on their private property. I mean, knowing your rights as well. But those two, if they were willing to act like that with me on camera, let's have a really honest conversation about what that body cam footage is going to reveal before I showed up here. And during her little interaction with the homeless man that she had nothing to do with. No. They're dirty cops. They're very, very dirty cops. And some of them are way more sly than others. Officer Moorhead is very nice. He's very nice. No, I don't trust him. I don't trust his motives. Absolutely not. Because he's coming out here to make friends, to peacefully see how many of these people that he can get rid of before he has to show up and use force. Oh, well, that's so nice of you, Officer Moorhead. That's really so nice. Much appreciated. So you're asking, Robert, if Colorado State Patrol should be the ones to enforce and not DPD since it's state property? Well, I guess if you were going from a jurisdictional point of view, that's a really good question. That's a really super good question. I think Denver would have jurisdiction first, unless it's an unincorporated area. So CDOT property in the suburbs, like along Wadsworth, I'm assuming you're from here, so you know the designation of whatever the state highways are. So Wadsworth is Kipling, 285. So that's interesting because along Bear Creek Trail over there along 285, but that's not unincorporated. I don't know. Thank you for that. I need to really check into that. I might have to send an information request to State Patrol to find out what that jurisdictional chart would look like for that level of enforcement. Well, Hika, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't talk to you guys yesterday. Well, for one, I couldn't see my screen. I was a little fired up over here, and I just want to thank you guys for being there. So, yeah, I really appreciated that. And hi, Mark. I was wound up because I knew they were up to no good. And then that female cop just kept pushing it. She just kept pushing it by not giving me her card. If they were up to good police work, they were simply just giving me their card. I mean, if they didn't like what I had to say, that's fine. We could have argued that all day long. They were intent on escalating it. And there was a reason for that. It's because they were up to no good. And I knew it. As I was riding up. It was funny because I was on a bike ride. because I like to ride the Platte anyway. I used to do it a lot of years ago, do the whole trail, make a whole day out of it. But I was up on this overpass over here, and I could see from that overpass way up there, 2 cop cars sitting in this field. And I knew it. It was a holiday. They had no business to be out here unless they had a call for service for something, totally whack. I mean, was there a fire? Was there a fight? Was there a massive theft going down? They'd been here how many days in a row? Telling them, you gotta leave, pack your shit, get out. So that's funny because, they kept threatening to charge them with trespassing, but they kept inviting them back. And here now today, there's no CDOT. So you see, all those intimidation tactics, they worked. So if any of these folks had stayed behind or couldn't get their RVs started or for whatever reason just decided to stick it out, who would have shown up today to cite them for trespassing? My guess is no one. Because they're not even supposed to be displacing the homeless right now. That was by orders of the very own Michael Handicock. He said, no, we're not doing this. Polis said it from the beginning. They're going to follow CDC guidelines on how to help the homeless. And Handicock said we got to have the whole National Western complex to help the homeless because, they're going to be displaced and ill. And we got to have hotels and we got to have this and that. Except for the ones that don't want to go down there. This is how they're going to use the force to make them go down there, so they can round them up into one area. And those people that were down there, they went out of there. They're done. They're done being over there. It's summer. Get real. You're not going to keep these guys pent up at the freaking National Western Complex. But there's still that standing order. No evictions. Housed people can't be evicted from their homes. They can go ahead and shuffle the homeless all over the place. Yeah, whatever. John, you got a question. What's the consequence for a cop that doesn't give their card? Because we know it's required. Well, remember the complaint I filed on Clarence Biggs? Do you remember that guy? I think you were in there that day on that stream that literally ran me off the road out there by the airport. And then I figured out that they were at a call at a park. Yeah, so you remember that guy. Well, I also got the disposition on that complaint as well. And so, yeah, they acknowledged it and, said that all of his, well, they didn't acknowledge that all of his behavior was documented as inappropriate, but they said after an investigation, it's been determined that he violated DPD policy, and this is not the expectation of, the Denver police, and he has been counseled, and a record has been put into his personnel file. Yeah, that's the extent of what they're going to give you when you file a complaint for something like that. I also filed a complaint for a cop that ran a red light. I've also filed a complaint for a cop, hauling ass, doing like 80, 90 down Santa Fe, down Hampton. They have exonerated all of those officers. They have said that they have done nothing wrong. And in fact, they were responding to urgent police matters. Not one of them had their lights or sirens on. Not one of them. The bottom line is they drive like jackasses and they get away with it. So that's why they do it. That's how people die. Cops run red lights. They run into somebody. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, we're responding to this homeless camp over here off Evans and Santa Fe, and we heard there was a fire, and well, it really didn't qualify for us to turn our lights and sirens on, but it did qualify for us to drive 90 miles an hour, down Evans with no lights or sirens. They get away with it. They get away with it. The Office of the Independent Monitor, I believe, maybe sent one of those complaints back, and they still would not acknowledge the actual traffic piece of it. I think one of them came back and said, oh yeah, we documented this in the cop's file. Yeah. So, I don't know. If the Office of the Independent Monitor is going to let some of these complaints go, I'm going to be really devastated. Because if they're cool with cops, well, and that was the other thing. They claimed that the video I provided them didn't show that he ran a red light because he wasn't in the intersection when the light was red. Although in the video, you see him making no attempts to brake. He was already speeding, right? So they didn't address the speeding issue, none of it. They talk circles around it. So, unless somebody dies, it just doesn't matter. But here's the deal. If somebody does die, there's a steady complaint stream about their driving. It's not going to bring that person back. It's not going to, keep somebody from being injured. So we're back to talking about how big of a lawsuit can you file and win. That's all this stuff comes down to, and unless you're willing to sue and have the resources to constantly do it, Denver knows that they have the upper hand on that. And it's not about safety, and it's not about serving the public. They tell you in the nice closing paragraph, we really appreciate you bringing this to our attention and take these matters very seriously. Like Clarence Biggs running me and several other cars off the road, they take it so serious that they let the union dictate when and how they can fire cops. That dude should have been fired immediately. I mean, immediately. So, what's the recourse we're left with? It's to highlight the cop, his name, his badge number, a picture of him, and get it out there. Suspect information, beware. Considered armed and dangerous. If you come into contact with this guy, you better take extra precautions to make sure you have 2 and 3 cameras on him, because he's a piece of shit. He's a liar. So you better protect your innocence, your likely innocence, right? Because now this cop is going to go out and, try to do everything right. It's unreal. It really is unreal about what protect and serve means. And Denver still has that on the side of their cars. It's kind of mind-blowing. So anyway, I don't see that CDOT's here to do anything on this fine Tuesday. So, maybe Denver's put the brakes on and said, oh, hey, we might not be doing this right. Let's let things settle down for a while to see if we can get this to brush under the rug, and then we'll do something different next time. Unreal. Do you know where the majority of these people are right now? They're all within 4 blocks of here. And they're pretty much parked on the streets. They're all scattered all over the place. Some of them went down to this other location on the Denver right-of-way. This is how Denver solves these problems, is to make sure to get them out of downtown, right? Which landed them in that lawsuit to begin with. So if they can get them out of downtown with the help of the Denver Business Partnership, the camping ban, all that kind of bullshit, and then, take the time to post the notices, we're going to sweep you, we're going to do this and that. So they pack up and they come out here. And then they just keep moving as money and time and resources will allow them to. So, yeah, right on. Good job, Denver. Don't address the sanitation issues. Just send them on over here to the other side of the fence. You guys have no idea. I mean, it's just the dumbest shit in the world. So, I'll just continue to help the individuals that I can, that want it, that will hopefully try to make something of it. Some of them, of course, will try to take advantage of me. I understand that. I understand that very well. I really do. But I'm a big girl, and I know how to handle that without government. Go figure. Yep. John, so yeah, we know the gamut. And until somebody dies, it's just really not a big deal. Because that's what gets attention is when people die. So yeah, you guys, thanks for being in this thread yesterday, watching out for me. I saw that you guys were concerned if I was okay and had, you know, ultimately been arrested. That's why I continue to live stream that stuff. I really give my husband a heart attack on a daily basis. I feel bad. I kind of do. All right, well, I'm out, so I gotta go do some more good stuff today, and it was nice talking to you. So I hope that you guys are doing okay out there with all this coronavirus pandemic. Shutting everything down. It's been a little rough. Thanks, Boika. Thanks, John. You guys take care. Talk to you later.